Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam. Good morning. Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Today is Friday, September 15, 2023, and you are in the Java Cafe for a special edition of Freestyle Fridays. This is the Boston Poly Brew. A few folks, including one of my guests, reached out to me and was like, yo, it's election night. Like, what's up with the election night coverage? And I'll be honest, it just kind of slipped this year, but we're here this morning with two people that have deep roots in the community. Both of them are not strangers to the Java Cafe and are very invested and politically engaged and a part of the electoral process. One is a former candidate, former state representative, and one actually at one point was strongly being considered and pushed and even this year to run for District 3 in the city council. And so this right now. So Freestyle Fridays, as you know, is us expressing our opinions. There's going to be a lot of commentary and assertions of things according to how we interpret and see things in our experience. And being a part of this, between the three of us, there has to be over 50 years of engagement in the political process. And so without further ado, they're not strangers. I would like to bring into the Java Cafe Ramilda, and she's going to get me because for years I've been saying it wrong, but I'm going to do it right now. Ramilda Rowe. Say
Don't try.
He choked up. He was ready. He was ready, and he choked it up.
She said, "Don't try." Say it, sweetheart, so I can say it because I've been saying it wrong for over 15 years. Pereira. I said Pereira. Okay, and already ready to get me from the CH Group, a consultant, former state rep, and host of Lord Jesus. I'm messing up this morning. The PSA show.
There you go. Public service announcement show on Spark FM.
Yes, Carlos Enriquez, welcome. So,
thank you.
We're here this morning because there is a lot going on in the area of Boston politics. And I remember when I was with Mayor Menino early on Facebook, I put a post up like in 2009, 2010. Oh, Boston Poly is going to be interesting through 2013. 10 years later, it is very interesting. And so I wanted to check in with both of you. First, I have to ask how both of you are doing, because in this space and in this work, we don't just talk about it and walk away. We are often faced with the nuances of engagement, voter turnout, the impact of policies, the impact of some I'm not going to go there yet, some apathy from some of our electeds. And so Ramilda, how you doing? And tell us how you're doing and describe the current state of Boston Poly in one word.
I'm doing great, motivated, but in one word, Boston Poly, shambles.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. Carlos, how are you?
Good morning. I'm cool as a fan. I'm doing all right. And I guess my one word to describe would be regular.
Okay, so let's start with you in this round. Why would you say regular? And there's a whole bunch of historical context you can give from past, but also seeing things in the present. Why would you say regular?
It's a struggle. Politics is a struggle, especially in the history of the city of Boston. There's always one group or a couple of groups vying for power, and that's just the nature of the game. So what people look like is what looks like the drama to a lot of people is just a regular everyday struggle game. It's majorities versus minorities, and when I say that, I don't mean people of color versus white people. I mean like how many people think a certain way that are voting on a certain body that can control legislation, policy, money. That is the struggle of power. How many people behind them are putting their money and their votes behind them to make sure that they have access to that power. That goes on daily, whether you vote or not. That's the politics that's happening every single day. It's a grind, and it's affecting your lives, whether you're a part of it or you're not. So to me, it's regular.
One of the things that you taught me, because some years ago I used to say, if you don't vote, you don't count. And I think you pulled me aside one day or said something in the text that if people are paying taxes, if people use water, if their children are in school, you're political. You're a part of the process. Ramilda, I want to come to you with something Carlos said, that it's regular. We are now in the most diverse, I believe the most woman occupied council in history. So with Carlos saying things are regular, you put a post on Twitter about not going backwards. Based on what Carlos said, regular, and what you see in the most diverse council, how do you feel about him using the word regular and tie in your word of shambles?
See, when he says regular, I agree with that as well, right? But when I think of regular, I'm thinking it's the regular everyday program, right? Look at what they did to what I consider our people, right? We had young people on the council, people that I consider young people, right? We had young people on the council. We had all diverse, right? Latino, Cape Verdean, white American, whatever have you, right? We had everyone's on the council, right? So we were thinking when those people voted in, 2 years ago, whatever have you, we were thinking, okay, here we go, we're somewhere now, right? We have a voice for everyone. Everyone came from a different part of the city. All these people grew up in where they was repping versus people that just moved in 2 years ago or whatever have you, right? So no, just saying, like, I'm not trying to be shady, but
Yep.
just, right, we had everybody like that really was rooted. Like, Tanya's from Roxbury. She reps it hard, right? You had this person from Hyde Park, this person from, JP or whatever have you. So we really was, on our end, we're like, word, we got people that are going to advocate and speak up for us, right? And our rights and what they see is going on. And then when they did, you had a group of people who were calling them, not dysfunctional, but
Radical.
but they wasn't using the word radical, right? Oh, they're being loud and they're ignorant and they're this and they're swearing, right? Like we saw when Tanya swore,
Yep.
and Tanya didn't swear to be ignorant and all of that. She was feeling that, right? It was something. And one thing people didn't pay attention to is the video. I mean, not the video, the recording. Because I was sitting in those chambers. The recording that she played, that person in that recording was very racist. Right, and there was racial slurs. So yes, we're gonna call this person racist. They threatened, you know what I mean? Not that they threatened, but they talked about her child. Right, I'm a mother. Right, like yeah, I'm gonna get mad. You're gonna get mad. Right, we all know kids is out of it. I don't care if you're in the streets, you're in politics. Kids are not to be put into this. And she was mad, and in the moment, she used one cuss word, and it was look at her, and all eyes was on her, painting this woman to be a bad woman. But then when Frank Baker was caught saying fuck them, right? It was just, oh, fuck them, Frank. Ha, 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 ha. It was cool, right? And excuse my language, but
Oh, you good?
these are the words, and this is what the context of it.
You got me sit up.
Yeah, so it is what it is. You know what I mean? And for me, that's regular programming. We're the bad guys. We're doing everything right. And we know who those people are. And look at what they did. They persuade y'all to push these people out, right? As we see, we got 2 people that are out now. You know what I mean? Kendra was going hard. I'm not even gonna lie. Like,
Most progressive. Well, not progressive, but 2 of the most assertive, by my perception, when it comes to sort of not radical, but a very hard approach to quality of life issues for the most marginalized. If you look at the 2 people that were voted off. And that's a whole interesting piece in itself. Ramilda, if I can jump in and deviate just a little bit. Rep. Enriquez, you've been very public about your experience in the House of Representatives and whatnot. So you know what it is for. Let's just go there for a minute, Ramilda.
Go ahead.
Get in a second. Book. Let's go with, because right, wrong. when you were in a position of leadership, me included, you all included too, you do walk a different level of circumspect. You do want to be a little more concerned. So let's just name that with the thing.
Fair.
Let's just go into the thing. The media portrayed them in such a negative manner, or there may be some facts, yes, but there seemed to be an agenda from mainstream legacy media when it came to Ricardo and Kendra.
No doubt.
What are your thoughts there based on what Milda said a few minutes ago about pushing them out?
I mean, I think that was a great point, because what I saw from my own experience and since then is, any leader we elect, they're still human beings, right? So even though we have this idea of holding to a higher standard, you're still electing human beings, and human beings are going to stumble and fall at different times, and people are going to judge them based on their own experience and their own perspective. However, when it comes to the media and how that's portrayed, whether it comes to how many times you talk about ethics violations, there are probably 2 to 3 dozen sitting elected officials in cities and towns across this state that have ethics violations. But you're not going to read about them every week unless they're of a certain hue of their skin tone. There are certain state reps when I was that were chairing ethics committee when I was on, that pushed me out illegally out of the House, but then were indicted by the feds, are now locked up in federal penitentiaries for what they were doing, taking bribes and all kinds of stuff. But you don't read about them. They're not brought up every time there's a scandal. They use myself, they'll use Senator Diane Wilkerson, they'll use the Honorable Chuck Turner. You know what I mean? So there's a skew that makes it, and the media's been doing this forever, which is why I call it regular.
Okay.
When people of a darker hue do something, we're demonized for it. It speaks to all of us. It's black leadership. It's black clergy. They don't even use those titles when it's white people. It's not white clergy. It's not white evangelicals. You know what I mean? So there's always going to be that, and that's why we as a community should not let outsiders, media, other elected officials that don't come from us or not representing us, decide who our leadership should be.
I agree. Ramilda, so much that Carlos, Ramilda, what did you put in the comments, Jesus?
Some policies they could read. Go ahead.
Posting data in the comments. Okay. But Ramilda, to the point of...
We need to know facts.
Absolutely. To the point of shambles, with the most diverse council, what's at risk? And Carlos, I want you to jump in after Ramilda as well. Sure. What's at risk on that part about going backwards? And we're definitely going to go into how do we prevent that and some of the observations that we're seeing based on the potential construct of the council, and we'll also discuss some folks' politics. What's at risk, Ramilda?
When I say go backwards, it's like we actually took a few steps forward when we had certain people in position, when we had Rollins in the DA's office, when, you know what I mean? So we did take some few steps forward, even with like Liz Miranda, right? With the policies in the we all know that, things that she's changing within our community from the state level, right? And laws and different things like that. Chris Borrell. So we all see the work that they're doing. When we lose someone like a Rollins, we're going backwards if we don't get someone like a Rollins or better, right? We go backwards. And when we go backwards, when I say that I'm talking about our community. I'm talking about the inner city of Boston, Dorchester, Roxbury, Mattapan, parts of South End, Hyde Park, you know what I mean? Like Rosendale, the people that are forgotten, right? Those people that are forgotten, those folks, those are the people that I named plus others, and Kendra and all of them. That was our voice. They come from where we come from, and the thing about that is these people don't think that any of us should be in position. You know what I mean? We're a threat to them. Not that we intend to be. Not that we're gonna harm people. You know what I mean? We're a threat because of whether we know it or not. We hold a lot of power. We hold a lot of power. You know what I mean? And then, like, look at, you mentioned how, people were pushing me to run. Anytime that conversation comes up, if you look at social media, different people's like, yeah, word. You know why? It's because they know, like, Rose not going to bite her tongue. Rose going to advocate for us. Rose going to fight for us, right? But then it's like, what pushes me to not run? Because I know what's going to come behind. You know what I mean? Oh, back in 1998, Roe got arrested for blah, blah, blah. Back in 1997, Roe did this. 2020, whatever, 2018, you know what I mean? Like, in that, I know what brings, like, even though my community knows me, y'all know who I am, y'all know where I came from, where I'm going, where I'm at today. Certain folks are still going to use that to sabotage me. certain people are still going to use that to hold me back. And then now you lose focus on what's really going on in them chambers in your work because you're being oppressed, you're being suppressed. People are talking. Now you're focused like, damn, I'm such a bad person, like mentally, like just it's just a lot. You know what I mean? Like, and I've forgiven myself. I've asked others that I've caused harm to for, I go through I work these days through a restorative justice model. You know what I mean? Anybody that I have caused harm to, I've apologized to. We made amends, but those things are still on record. With it still being on record, those people are going to use it to come back and bite me. Look at what they did to Arroyo. What makes you think they won't do that to me?
I was just getting ready to say that on the part that you were saying earlier. Well, Ramilda, you tied this in. We're talking more about the council, but we're also talking about the construct of black and brown politics in Boston. And so we had Rollins, very progressive. She had a list, I believe, of 15 and whatnot. And a lot of people were very upset. Let's name law enforcement, who are very powerful, who have unions, who have lists, who have people that donate. And Carlos, we can correlate all the significance of that.
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
And so when Arroyo was coming in, when Ramilda talks about the change, Arroyo would have more than likely, let's just say, for example, continued 13 of Rollins' list. And so those powers that be were like, wait, we're going to have another 6 years of these type of policies, or maybe more, because I forgot how the cycle ran off when Attorney Rollins went to the U.S. Attorney's office. But that piece of the fear of the progression then turns into this, Carlos, what you talk about, this narrative of black candidates and black and brown powerful people. And I want to name that a lot of these attacks, Arroyo is a little bit of an exception now, but we had Rollins, we had Kendra, they tried to mess with Julia, Tanya as well. And so I'll come back to you, Ramilda, from a woman's perspective with this, what we're talking about. But Carlos, this fear, I asked Ramilda about it. What is the fear that folks have of us achieving our power? And I know the answer, but I mean,
but there's a lot of levels to it. Like, so for instance, let's use the DA's race. I'll give you an example. Police, when they arrest somebody and they go to court to testify, they get paid a minimum of 4 hours overtime, whether they're telling the truth on the stand or not. If you have a progressive DA that puts you on a you can't testify list because you're found to be a liar, habitual liar, now you've lost the ability to make overtime. Your salary could go from $150,000 a year to $75,000 back to the base rate. If I'm a cop that lies, I don't want that. I'm going to donate to my police union. I'm going to donate to the candidate that would never accuse me of lying and just take my word as fact. And that's the power game. But that's been happening for 3-4 days, forever, right? So those are the differences. I know we make it personal because it feels personal because that person looks like us. They come from where we come from, but it really goes down to the power. They don't care if the DA looks like them or looks different from them, as long as they're going to carry the same policies that benefit them. And that's what we battle in communities. For there to be communities that are doing well, when we talk about equity, everybody thinks that's a black and brown thing. That just means I should get the same amount of trash cans in Roxbury as they have in West Roxbury. My trash pickup should run the same time with the same quality as theirs. My park should look the same as theirs. That's the equity we're fighting for. And some politicians, regardless of what they look like or where they come from, will fight for that and be vocal when it's not happening. Some are happy to be there and take some pictures and just go along with it. And those that are in power know that if you're not crying for money, I can get more to my neighborhood than you're getting for your neighborhood. So they want to go back to where there's just 4 people of color and it's just 1 woman on the council, because it concentrates a lot more of that money and power and policy back into those same homes. Police officers come from, if you looked at all the police officers, a lot of them that live in the city still probably come from very certain neighborhoods, or they descend from very certain neighborhoods. Same thing for the public works. Same thing for all these departments that are institutionalized. You know what I mean? So there's a vested interest, a financial interest in making sure certain people, developers as well, billion-dollar developers, there's a financial interest tied into politics to keep some poor and some wealthy.
To Teresa's point here, black and brown elevation invokes fear.
Because they got to lose some of that pie. If there's only so many slices and we take more slices to get to our fair share, they got to come up off some slices, and they're not trying to come up off of any
But here's
slices.
another thing too, like to them, their fear is because how wrong they've done our people and done our community, they think that when we get in power, we're gonna do the same thing. That's not true. You know what I mean?
Facts.
We come into it with, man, we don't care. Yeah, you did us wrong, but man, whatever. Like we're gonna take care of our people first, but you're gonna get taken care of too. And the reason why we're gonna take care of our people first is because we need more help. We need more of that, opposed to what you do. Let us get to your level first, and then we could all be on an even playing field. And then to what Enrique was saying, where people, I'm gonna go back to when he was talking, when he used that thing, like a police officer going into the courtroom and getting the 4 hour overtime. Let's be honest, it's not even. First of all, we don't need you until trial, right? So why are you showing up every time I have a court date? You showing up. It's still pre-trial. They're not asking you nothing. We don't need you as a witness right now. Right now it's just my lawyer versus the DA going back and forth with motions and things like that. So why are you showing up and getting overtime? I don't need you here. We don't need a witness until you go to trial. Most of the times these people are not going to trial. They're getting pushed to plead guilty.
Play out.
Meanwhile, the officer's sitting there the
It's
whole
still
time getting paid.
collecting. And so, Ramilda, I want to come back to you because the raw, the nastiness. First, I was just raised in a manner when it comes to women. It's women and children, as you said, things are very different. From a woman's perspective, from the mayor, we're talking about the council, but from the mayor and the women on the council, from a woman's perspective, and also a mother, because Tanya is, Michelle is,
They all are, yeah.
Julia is, except for Ruthie. I don't believe our children, as far as
Yeah.
women of color
Yep.
on the council. And so from a woman's perspective, specifically a woman of color, a black woman, whatever perspective is a woman, speak to this. I just thought there would be some halt when it comes to a woman. And it's been, to me, and Carlos, you have more historical context. It's been a little more nastier, by my observation.
Because that's their way of pushing that narrative. Black women are angry, they're this, they're that. You know what I mean? It goes back to that. And then, like, they don't care if you're a woman, man, girl, child, you black and brown, and you gonna make some noise and you're gonna push that power to your people, they got a problem with you.
And so just to piggyback, I agree that it's, people that don't know the council, there's always been fights on the council floor, to go back to Yancey and Jimmy Kelly throwing ashtrays when you could still smoke in the chamber, and N words flying and F bombs and back and forth. So the chamber's been much nastier, right? But also politics. I don't like when people describe it as this nice, safe space. We're struggling for millions of dollars in the lives of people in different neighborhoods. It should not be a nice, safe. This is my opinion. It should not be a nice, safe space. And I'll tell you from experience, and I tell this story often. I worked for Michael Flaherty in the city council back in '05. And even when they did politics and they were talking about their own neighborhood, he would host the South Boston electeds. The state rep would come in, the state senator would come in, the district city councilor would come in. He would come in and they would close the door. I'd sit outside the office. And it sounded like a bar fight in there. There was F-bombs flying, you son of a... But when the door opened, they shook hands and made sure that their neighborhood was taken care of. It was about their business. When they showed up in South Boston, they made sure South Boston got what they needed to get. Because at the end of the day, regardless of their personal differences, and believe me, they have personal differences, their bigger goal was to make sure that their tribe was okay. And that's the level of politics we're not at yet. We have not incorporated these best practices to put aside our petty beefs and make sure that the tribe is okay above our own egos and how we feel in our association to one elected versus another, or how that elected treats me. So we still have some learning to do when it comes to this game, this struggle of politics, especially when it comes to the voting and supporting, to make sure we have power to do make those kind of moves.
Let me ask you, Carlos, and Ramilda, jump in here first, because I'm just trying to, keep the balance. We're in a world pandemic still. We haven't come out. We had he who used to occupy the White House in office. Roe versus Wade was reversed. From your opinion, Ramilda and Carlos, I'll come back to you. What Carlos talks about is the level of yes, we have the external factors that are fighting us, but unfortunately, they're also, and we're not going to do a bunch of airing of dirty laundry here. That what is the thing? what goes on in the house stays in the house. We're not going to talk too much about that. But Carlos talks about the fact of coming together. He was the person that came up with the idea. The state has the Massachusetts Black and Legislative Caucus. However, city council members of color, the DA and whatnot may not be part of that group. So Carlos some years ago said, hey, all of us who are of color, come together. Let's meet every 2 weeks. I believe that is still in place. Russell Holmes, I believe, still keeps some iteration of that together. Romildo, in a world pandemic, when Trump in the White House and all that has went on, what is it going to take to get our folks together? Thaddeus says we may not have to always be united, but we can unify. What is it going to take from your perspective for the state level, the county level, and the city level of color electeds to come together and make the tribe priority?
It's going to take one of them to make it happen. One lead, everybody else is going to follow. But one of them have to step up and say that. Like, listen, this is what we're going to do. We're going to meet on Tuesday. Everybody show up. Who shows up, let's move it forward. Who doesn't, then we already know what type of time they're on. And then guess what? It's time to bring it back to the community. We need to vote this person out because they're not on our time. We have a lot of those. We have Black and brown counselors, state level people who are not for us. And if you look, I advise everyone, look at their policies. Look at what bills they signed versus the bills they didn't sign. That's going to tell you all about that person. Never mind when they campaigning. When they campaigning, they tell you everything that sound good. Everything you want to hear, everything I want to hear, they're going to make it good. Oh, yeah, we're going to get in there and do this and that. Then they get in there, as we see, it doesn't happen, right? That's just like when it was the state level campaign, when they was going for Senate. There was one particular person that was like, yeah, I'm pro-prison reform. And, you know, that's my work, my area, right? I'm pro-prison reform, this and that. Like, I know because I'm in State House. I know who's signing those bills. Half the times I'm helping them put the bills together and letting them know, you know, what we need and what areas need to be changed and things like that. And then if you look at the bill that that person signed versus the bill that that person didn't sign, it lets you know that that person wasn't for us when it came to prison reform or certain other things, right? So you just have to, you know, us as people, never mind the politicians, us as people, educate yourself. This can't be a what you call it, popularity thing, right? Just because you're popular, just because people know you, your face. I don't care who shows up to your community event and takes pictures. When are y'all going to learn that that is just, they're doing that for their own personal gain and reasons? It's a photo op, right? So we think, oh, well, I'm going to vote with such and such because every time I have a basketball tournament, they show up. We all show up. We all want to have a good time. But who is showing up? And then when I say show up, who is showing up in them chambers? Who is showing up in, you know, with policies? Who's writing those bills? Those are the people that matter. And those are the people we have to like push. And then we have our own people who, for whatever reason, there's folks out there, right? This is how shady we are and like far back we are as a city. Or I'm just using you as an example, James, that say you as a politician and I don't like you for whatever personal reason that we have. I'm not going to vote for you and I'm going to go against you because I don't like you. Not because you're not great for my community, not because you're not the person we need in there, but just because I don't like you.
And it doesn't put the tribe as the priority. Carlos, so I saw a few things there that were said that you ready.
Roe is spitting like this is what drives me crazy because Roe would be an amazing elected, right? But I know enough about electoral politics, and she knows enough that I would hate to have her go through that.
Exactly.
But one thing she said that really sparked me. Well, there's a few. One, I agree. We don't need to unify. You just need a tipping point. You just need a mass of people. You don't need everybody. You ain't got to wait for everybody to get in the room. You just need enough to move the bus along. But what she really said that I think people should learn to discern from their elected officials, and I challenge all the elected officials have a hard time doing this. This is what I mean about that dirty laundry. I'm not always in agreement with we shouldn't air our dirty laundry. If an elected official represents you and puts the tribe first, why wouldn't I come back and tell the community, yo, even though this dude looks like me, you see us standing together, or they don't look like me and they represent over there, they're not good for our community, and let me tell you why. It ain't personal. It's because he proposed this bill, this bill, this bill. He didn't do this, this, and this. And I think you should decide whether you want to keep this person in, because we'd have a much better ally if we had someone that thought like this, this, and this. That's the level of politics we're not at when I say put the tribe first. If they don't come back to you and say, yo, this is my opponent around these issues, and it doesn't have to be nasty. Like, some of it can be done internally. I'll give you a quick example. I found Byron Rushing in the State House, had been there probably longer than I had been alive. And there was they were gonna zero out the budget for Adult Day Health Center. I represented the 5th Suffolk District. Upham's Corner was mine. There was a Cape Verdean Adult Day Health Center right in Upham's Corner. So I went there with my aide, and I went there with then Councilor Ayanna Presley, and they were like, what are you gonna do about this budget? And I'm like, listen, I need your help. There's 300 of you guys in here that use this on a daily. And they were like, who hasn't voted for this bill? Who hasn't signed on for this budget amendment? And Leader Rushing was one of the people. I gave them a list of phone numbers of every rep that had not signed on to the amendment, and they promised to call. They blew up the phone lines of these reps. When I walked into the House the next day, there was a call on my desk. Leader Rushing would like to see you immediately. I go down to Leader Rushing's office, humble. Leader Rushing, what can I do? Los, make it stop. What do you want me to do? Make the phone call stop. I can make it stop, but you're going to have to sign on to this budget amendment so that the tribe can get this money. I'm going to sign on. Tell them I'm signing on. I went back there that afternoon. I congratulated them for making their phone calls. They signed on. I didn't have to badmouth the leader. I just had to put things in motion and say, this is the person that hasn't signed on yet. We together need to put pressure on him, and we did it. That's politics. It's numbers game and throwing your weight around. And if we don't have the numbers and we won't do the things like making phone calls and emails and showing up, then we're not throwing our weight around.
And that's just like it's true. Los is absolutely right. It just happened with me, and all I used was Twitter. So they came with they wanted the prisoners to donate their organs, or whatever, to
time off,
organs or whatever. Mind you, the time off was a couple of days out of a year. Like, are you crazy? So to me, and you know what they was going to do, and you know whose organs they was going to take and all that. So when I put that out there on Twitter, like, this isn't okay, this and that, they went crazy. The people didn't know what was going on, right? I knew because I knew about the bill. I put it out there, put the bill out there. I also added the people that signed the bill. Russell Holmes being one of them, the woman from Chelsea, and the guy from Western Mass. And people started calling them, right? The woman, people came at her all kind of ways. And I didn't intend for people to disrespect her in any way, but people are going to be people. So they came at her. She didn't know me from a hole in the wall, and I didn't know her. Next thing you know, I got a phone call. Can we sit down and meet? Yes.
Boom.
Listen, she came to Roxbury, sat down and met with me and a couple of other people. And we told her, like, no. She was like, what can I do better for this bill? Extract it all together. It shouldn't be there. She didn't sign it no more. She took her name off, and so did other people. And you know what I mean? And we sat and met with Russell Holmes, let him know as well, like, he shouldn't be signing a bill like that. So like Carlos said, it does work, but it takes us, the people, because you got to remember, you voted them in. Once their constituent starts calling them back to back, and you get more than a certain amount of calls, they're going to back up.
Sonia Chang Diaz said, and now Carlos, I don't know what your number was. Sonia Chang Diaz said one day that upon the 10th call, it's an issue.
Yeah.
On the 10th call, it's an issue for an elected. And I want to go back a little bit to something Rose said. And Carlos, I was surprised because when I said, what is it going to take to break that cyclical of some apathy?
That was the other thing. Yeah.
When she said it, the simplicity of that took me by surprise when you shook your head like that, because I'm thinking it's this, and I guess it is the groundswell from the community. But when she said it just takes one.
That's all.
I guess in real time, when I credited you for bringing folks together, it happened. But it just, there's something missing, Ro and Carlos. There's an energy. There's a
the truth.
I'm gonna tell you what's missing. Some of these people going in there trying to make friends. F them people. You're supposed to come in like, listen, I'm not your friend. Politics. Let me put it to y'all like this. Let's bring it back correlated to the streets. Politics is like drug dealing. I'm going to be honest with you, right? Just look at it's like that. Like, listen, we're gonna work, we're gonna figure this out. Don't mean we're having teas and crackers tomorrow. Don't mean I like you, but we're
Just
gonna do. I'm
business.
gonna get this money, or I'm gonna get this, right? It's just look at them when they hurl together. They like the mob. They don't all like each other, but when we get in here, we're gonna figure some things out and walk out this room. And I know I'm gonna walk out what's good with my people. You're gonna walk out what's good with yours. There's too many people in there trying to worry about who likes them and who not. Them people are never gonna like you. So what do you care? Like, we need people who are gonna go in there. This is not high school. I'm not looking to make friends. I'm not looking to. When I went to high school, I went to the break. You like me, you like me. You don't, you don't. What you want me to do? Like, them people are not gonna like you, no matter how much you kiss their behind, no matter how much you bring them donuts and coffee. They're not going to like you. Period.
Carlos.
That's it's just straight. It's so much facts in what bro is spitting. So first of all, I grew up and I grew up in Roxbury. I had a fascination for the streets, but I have a little sister and I see my brother get into some stuff and I had a little sister, so I didn't want to get into it. But I quickly realized that politics gave me the same rush that I heard from people being in the streets, because it's a power game. So I was
brother Carlos. It is sports sometimes.
Yeah, it is sport. It
reminds you of the streets.
But it's in high stakes. It's not as high stakes as the streets, right, but it's high stakes, right? And you represent others. So I'm the type of rep that I'll go and sit and have dinner with you and listen to y'all smile and laugh and giggle, so I can soak up as much information, see what you're comfortable with, see what your what weaknesses are, your strengths are, just so I can be stronger myself and put my people on. Like, they're not, but I'm not looking to make any friends. I can be collegial, I can laugh and joke with you, tell you a pun over a bagel, but I'm about the business of it. So when I created that group of 12, it was, and I don't want to take credit for it, was really just reinventing that group, right? Because there had been a history of a black political task force, and there's been iterations of that came before me. But the idea was, and now there's even more, there are 12 to 14 people that represent people of color, disenfranchised people of color, right? So they represent the same tribes. If we want the same things, which our tribe does, I don't know about the elected to represent them, but the tribes want the same thing. They want safe streets, clean parks, city services, safe housing, et cetera, et cetera. We all know the list has been out there for 30, 40 years. If we go as one at a time and ask a mayor and ask a governor and ask a speaker, they're going to hand us off crumbs. Hey, get out of here. But when we walk in there 12, 14 deep, and we're willing to tell the truth, like Rose said, and go back to the neighborhood and said, listen, we just asked the mayor for $5 million to fix these parks, and the mayor said no. But we represent just as many people, if not more, than the mayor. What our job is to do is to come back to the tribe and say, this is not the mayor that's good for us. Because the mayor doesn't elect those 12, 14 people. The community does. And to Rose's point, it only takes one leader to start speaking up and speaking the truth on a regular basis, and the community will wrap their arms around that person, because game recognizes game. They're going to see, oh, this person is telling us the truth. They're not trying to play friends and be in all the pictures like Puff Daddy dancing in the videos. Right. They just want to help the tribe. And once that happens and that person emerges, everybody else will have to fall in line or they'll fall the hell off. But there's no leader that does that yet.
One thing that you tap into a little bit, and then I want to move into some of your forecasts and the impact of Tuesday's election, is if you all would agree, a little bit of what was asserted there was a little bit, not personality politics, but that, during Black Lives Matter, we went to leaderful people rather than, or push back the thing of just leaders. That does have a personality perspective to it. I had asked someone, I think it was Roe or whatever, we had asked someone that what is it going to take, or what type of candidate would it take to get people active? And they said someone that inspires them. I don't know, Ro, if it was you, Carlos, and you shook your head.
Somebody that inspires. You need someone who is not your everyday politician. You need someone that the streets, when I say the streets, I mean the community, the hood respects already. Someone that they already see as a leader, right? Someone who, there's certain people, if they run, they're going to push people that never voted to vote, right? There's going to be people that's never been interested in politics, never been interested in things, that is going to show up to the polls in numbers, because they're like, yo, if this person's running, I trust this person. I know this person, right? And whoever that person is going to be, they're going to shake the table. Them running is going to scare these people. You know what I mean? Like, you just need that one person from the community. Like, we know who those people are. We just got to help them clean up a little bit. You know what I mean? And
That's the point I wanted to ask. Carlos,
everybody's going to fall in line. You want to know why? Because that one person is going to be in them chambers or state house or whatever have you. They're going to be the leader. They're going to run things. The whole community standing behind this person. Now, the rest of the elected officials, they want that. They want that whole community standing behind me, all this and that, right? So once they see that, they're going to fall in line. Now, they're going to back this leader because they want that too. You know what I mean? So that's what, listen, like, prime example, and I'm just going to shift it for a second, right? You have someone who none of us know, no disrespect to her, we just don't know you, right? A Bridget, Lee, something like that, right? She's running for city council at large. And she goes on social media, oh, for D7, I endorse Althea. First of all, ma'am, you're running for the very first time in your life. Instead of endorsing somebody, you need to worry about you getting a seat, right?
I want to see Carlos's face.
Second of all, when have you even walked through D7 to even tell D7 who to vote for? And no shade to Althea, but Althea's been running. She's 82 years old. She's been running probably longer than I've been alive.
Carlos, I just, I believe in Ramilda, but I just need that affirmation.
I would vote for Althea before I vote for Bridget Nee Walsh, because at least I know Althea has roots in the community, has relationships in the community. Now, I wouldn't agree with all of her policies, but I know she's a better advocate. I know her work better than I know Bridget Nee Walsh. So that's crazy that she would even endorse.
But then Althea's running for D7. So for me, what I took from Bridget, you pushing the Althea because y'all don't want a Tanya in the room.
Exactly.
But D7 is going for Tanya, whether y'all like it or not, because of the policies that Tanya put in place. We talking about going to get the bag and bring it back to the community. Tanya had put, what she get away with? 500,000 in main streets, 150,000 LGBTQ.
Come on.
Like with 75, like she's opening up green spaces in Roxbury. She's doing so much. She also put the budget up for the 600,000 to returning citizens. She cares. She's gone through what we gone through. She's still going through what we gone through. Just like when they put her out there, her husband's in prison. And whose isn't? Like, this is D7. Whose brother didn't get locked up? Who wasn't locked up? That doesn't offend me. That just lets me know she know where I come from. That lets me know that she's fighting for me.
To Carlos's point, and Ramilda's as well about. So let's just go there a little bit and go into Tuesday. I'll put my assertion out there that the reason that she did that and endorsed Althea is known as a conservative.
How you a conservative trans woman?
In America today. Now you can be and have, seeing what's going on, and Althea, let's just also
same way you can be poor and back Trump and back a billionaire. People don't always connect the dots about, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I guess so.
Okay. And so I did want to give, with all due respect, being part of the LGBTQ plus community, I wanted to just also name in this space, Althea's long time been in politics and also was an early forerunner for trans women. So we just want to highlight and name that as well. I see my good friend and brother.
But do she fight for trans rights?
Good. Yo, bro, be asking a good question. Actually, there's a lot of backlash because she never identified publicly or carried the torch or the flag, just using a euphemism there. But it's a new day.
To me, I'm not a trans woman. I'm an ally. I respect our sisters, but I'm gonna say black trans women, we should say, right, are murdered in a rapid, like the rate is high. You don't fight for your people? You definitely ain't fighting for me.
So
that's looking at policy versus.
I was just getting ready to say
you know what I'm saying? That's what I like. That's what I like. It takes the person out of it. Does their policy align with what they say? No, then I can't trust you.
Right.
I can't trust you to represent me. Maybe someone else can, but I can't.
Okay. There's so
Bridget Nee, go get a better candidate. You lost this one, fam.
So Tuesday.
So Tuesday, we had first of all, let's just talk a little bit. Quincy put up a post. I'll be very honest, as politically astute as I think I am, I showed up to the poll. on Tuesday. Brian didn't have a contender, but it was election day, and at about 6:50 something, I'm like, ain't no way in the world I'm losing my super voter status. I get into Mildred, and it's only 18, Ward 18. And so, yes, it is up to us to know, and Ramilda said to educate ourselves. But with all that's going on, I'll say I didn't receive a lot of materials, emails, phone calls, or texts about, hey, districts changed. This is who is voting with Carlos. So, Ramilda, if you will, based on what Carlos is sitting there doing, can we have him start this part first and you jump in after?
Sure, definitely.
You're right, and I made this comment publicly as well. The city and the electeds could have done a better job informing people.
Yeah.
But to Rose's point about us taking it seriously and educating ourselves, if we know what's going on with Blueface and Chrissy Ann, if we know what's going on,
Krishan, we ain't gonna have you out here.
See, I'm saying I don't know what's going on because we say we multitask. We say we are advanced enough to do all these things, and we can. But what is getting the priority in terms of our life and our energy? So if we don't have time to make the phone calls and study our local politics where we have the most influence, but we got time for Housewives of Atlanta. And I know people need their downtime. I know all the excuses. We need our downtime, and we need that. You know, we're not our forefathers. Our forefathers and foremothers didn't have downtime to check out, right? Life was, for us to be here now, this comfortable, life was so harsh, they couldn't just check out and watch Instagram shorts for 35 minutes at a time in a day and just check out. You had to be on point. So again, if the tribe is the priority, then we need to act like the tribe is the priority. And that means sacrificing some of our comforts and being uncomfortable studying and learning the things that affect us, our families, and our neighbors' families. Because no matter how good you're doing in your house, if your neighbor next door is effed up and their kids are effed up, there's a high chance that they're going to F with your kids and F them up and your whole community. So until the tribe realizes that and everybody takes on a little bit more, and everybody ain't got to be, on here every Friday, and they don't have to be running for office, but everybody got to do a little bit more to make it a light lift for everybody so that we can get a little further and go a lot farther.
I agree, but I'll just add that I also think that people should meet the people where they're at, right? Having those conversations, speaking the language that people understand. And I don't mean we are diversity, right? But when I say language, I'm like, if you're in the hood, don't come, talk to people and help them understand. Listen, I passed this policy, right? But this is what this means if this passes, right? Mm-hmm. This is what it means for you. Yes. Informing people the things that you're doing. A lot of people didn't know. A lot of people didn't know certain things that Liz Miranda was doing, right? Till we brought it to the community, right? When I was fighting to end solitary confinement in Massachusetts, I had to, inform my community on what that was. And so many people thought Roe did this. Me and a group of people did it, but we needed these politicians to sign this bill to make it effect and happen. So once we did that, it informed people what certain folks were doing, certain politicians were doing. So you definitely have to come back after you pass a bill or put a policy in place, come back to your community and inform them, hey, this has passed, this has worked, things like that. When you are, putting the policy in place, or you do need people to speak, meet the people where they're at. Most people are on social media now, but we got to remember, my mother's not on social media. Right. My aunt's not on social media. So if you're fighting to end life without parole, you have to go back into the community and find those moms and dads that have kids that are doing life bids, right? And things like that. You have to go back to that. It's just like now we post digital flyers, but we don't post them out in the community. Back in the days, we used to walk around and pass out flyers.
Oh my God, Ro. Talk that shit, Ro. Talk that shit. I mean, it's when I was a rep, I did not want to sign a bill unless I could explain it on the block. If I couldn't bring it back to West Cottage Street and break it down on the block, then I don't understand the bill. Because I'm not going to just be talking about policy, whereas I insert this word and this word is removed and expect my community to get behind it. If I can't break it down to you at Backwoods Pizza or at Ideal Sub Shop when you run up on me, then I'm not doing my job. And if I don't put it on a flyer and put it in your mailbox besides the time I'm looking for election, then I'm not doing my job. I'm not informing you. If I'm not having community meetings at Dudley, and I don't just mean the quick coffee, and I sit for an hour once a month, because who am I reaching in the community with that? If I'm not having a town hall meeting
during the day at that,
during the day when people are working, if I'm not having a town hall meeting on a Saturday at a library that hosts 100 people and live streaming it, am I really looking out to reach out to the tribe, or am I just doing the bare minimum so I can say I did it?
Sometimes you gotta walk the block. Sometimes you gotta come out your element. Take them high heels off, put on some sneakers, walk the block, find the people that are on the stoop who are most impacted, and talk to them. It might listen.
That's who spreads the word. That's who spreads the word in the neighborhood.
Some people are afraid of that. Some people are like too good for that. Some people, for whatever reason, they're not doing it, right? Just like when you walk in the block, or you have people walking the block when you campaigning because you need them to vote for you. When you're in office, continue that. You know what I mean? Right. Like sometimes you have to pull up on those that are sitting on the stoop. They might be smoking a little weed. You might not like it, but hey, they're in their element. And once they see that, they're gonna see you're connected to them.
I used to give them a flyer and say, hold on to this because it's good to break up on. You know what I'm saying? That glossy flyer, it keeps the buck right there.
You talk about keeping it real. You fold that thing, and every time they roll up and break up on,
there you go. Crease it, but don't throw it away. Just hold on to it. You know what I mean?
You might read it because after the bud is gone, I'm like, oh shoot, he passed.
Exactly.
You have to meet the people where they're at. And some people, look, we have some candidates who run, and it's like, they're like, oh, I'm from the hood. I'm from here. I'm from there. But when you get in office, it seems like you forgot that you're from there.
Right.
I grew up boating in Geneva. I'm comfortable walking the streets. It was just a thing on Twitter. I posted yesterday when I was like, everybody thinks I'm from Roxbury, but I'm from Dorchester, 40 years. So many different hoods was like, nah, you from over here, you from over there. You know what that taught? I'm like, damn, I'm just loved. I'm Boston.
Yep.
But it taught me like who I am and who I am to my community. I'm not afraid to go to Lenox Street, and I have friends there. I'm not afraid to go to Academy Homes. I have family there. You know what I mean? Like, I don't judge people. Those are the people that you're fighting for.
Ro, the key point is you're known. Because of your activity, you're known. I would say that most of these elected officials could walk down these same streets as you, and people wouldn't even recognize them because they're a disconnect from the community. You know what I mean? And that's so there's that part, and then there's also there's so many levels that we have to get to as a community. So when I think about, Tuesday's loss, I know we've still been trying to get to Tuesday.
We're going to get to Tuesday. Let's go there.
It's like, so people, and I'm going to take the personality out of it, right? Ricardo and Kendra are now going to lose their seat on the city council. And people might say, well, the self-inflicted wounds, there's all the narratives we already aware of. What most people aren't aware of yet, and I hope people get to, is for a city council president to be made, they elect one every 2 years from their own body. And for city councilors to become chairs of committees that oversee certain things that are important in your life, like the budget, like the chair of Ways and Means that decides where the money goes, and government operations to see whether something can get done quickly, like when the mayor tries to put $2 more million into the police for research and gang research. If you don't know the government ops, if you don't know the way it works, those things fly right through without a challenge. Yeah. So you lose Ricardo Arroyo, and I'm not saying he's irreplaceable, but I'm saying he was an operative that understood how the game worked.
Look what he just got accomplished from Mr. Curry after how many years?
Right. Something that many of us tried and failed at. But not that aside, the reason why you saw so many of these new people in high chairpersons positions, even Tanya being chair of Ways and Means, is because there were people that could cut a deal to make sure that they got these chairs. They trade their votes for presidents for committee assignments. And if you don't have someone that can walk you through that and understand that, then you don't get those good assignments that allow you to have more power for your tribe in the city. If you don't have someone that understands that if they suspend the passage of the bill, then Michael Flaherty or Aaron Murphy might pass and put 3 grants worth $800,000 apiece right through to the police without having a hearing, without you ever getting to decide on it. So when people are saying defund the police, it sounds good, but you need operators that understand it and understand how the policy works and how the format works in the city council to make sure those things do or do not happen. So you lose that. Now, whether you get that back, depending on who wins, I mean, you decide. If you have a former police officer representing District 5, would you have gotten that same block? No, that probably would have gone right through. The mayor who will say sometimes she's against funding the police, or the money needs to be reallocated. But here she was putting $2 million in. Like, those are the things that have to come out. Those are the things that the community has to follow, just like we follow Krishan and Blueface. You know what I'm saying?
Right. That's like
it.
Kendra. Kendra had a policy which she's trying to do. So flagmanship positions. So flagmanship positions. So what that is, for those who don't know, is so the police detail when they out, let's say Verizon's fixing the pole, whatever, you got police detail in the streets. So she was trying to take that job away from the police department and give it to the community. I showed up to that hearing. I was actually
economic development, decrease in the overtime budget.
Yeah.
There was so much.
So it would be paying a community, a bunch of community people, residents of City of Boston, $50,000 a year, to do that work. So we came in, I was on the panel, we came in with facts, right? We all know that not all police officers, some of the times you don't even see them. You don't even know where they are. You're figuring out which way to go yourself. And there's traffic, there's all kinds of stuff. They're on their phone, they're in the car, they don't walk to Dunkin' Donuts. We don't know. So when we sat on that panel, you had someone like Erin Murphy who stated, her comment was, I don't think someone with just a high school diploma should be making $50,000 or more. Hold up. You got Frank Baker beside you with a high school diploma making $100,000. So one, you just talked bad about your partner here, but two, what does that say about how she thinks about us?
In her constituency.
Exactly. So a high school diploma, first of all, that was $50,000 when we're not talking about after taxes, after health insurance, it's going to be lower than that. So you don't think the people in the city of Boston, rent is high, right? You don't think that the people in the city of Boston deserve that with just a high school diploma? It's not like they're going to be outside calculating something to put it together. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's all you really need. Just like a Boston police officer, your only requirement is you having a high school diploma.
Right.
And then she said that in a room with over 100 police officers. And again, if you go back and look at that hearing, they was coming at me, but y'all know I don't give a damn. So we was going at it, right? And you have us and maybe like 10 or 20, I would say like 20 to 25 people from the community that was there arguing and going back and forth with the police union and over 100 and something officers in that room. Like, we were going at it. But why were we going at it? Because these people didn't think that our community deserved that. And we were going at it because we do believe our community deserved that. We do need to have jobs for the people of our community. There's people coming in from the South Shore taking up jobs that I know. I know so many people that applied for city, they went to cityofboston.gov, applied for jobs, and is still waiting to be called or never got a response back or anything like that. But then they keep putting out messages that, we need people. We have this many positions available. No one's applying. I know a lot of people that did apply and still not getting a call back. And it's not that they don't qualify. They do. So we need to figure that piece out. That's a whole separate conversation.
That's a whole.
I heard. But to bring it back around, to bring it back full circle, Erin Murphy is a city councilor at large. She represents the entire city. However, she comes from a tribe, and she gets supported by certain tribes. One of those large tribes are police officers and police officer unions and their families. And those tribes come from certain neighborhoods. So again, I don't take it personal. I expect her to have that position. But all we need is to have someone as eloquent as Roe is to be able to say, you know what, this $50,000, y'all pay $75,000 for high school diplomas for police officers as a base salary. And they can make up to $150, if not $200, without ever having to go to college, just with overtime. And that $50,000 job is going to change the communities that we come from, because it is actually higher pay than most of our head of households make in neighborhoods like District 7 and District 4. So, but you don't always hear that argument come back. And there's so many levels that we need to complete. You need to have a counselor that empowers people. Roe is self-empowered like a mug. So, but you need those connections. You're no good without a Roe, and then who Roe talks to, and then the people that Roe talks to talking to other people. If you don't have those levels in your community of community activism, then you're not going to be able to wield power, back and forth when they're lined up. Because a Councilor Murphy, and again, no knock to her, she's playing politics. If she got $75,000 in donations from police unions and police officers, she better take her behind in there and make that argument. Because if she don't, they're going to do their job and find a counselor that will. And we just have to act. We don't have to be them, but we need to carry ourselves more similarly. And when it comes to best practices around politics,
and that's
like
the
that.
point. Best practices. That's the thing that I'm so concerned about. That we have. I don't know why it baffles me that in a world pandemic, he who used to occupy the White House and all that's climate change.
Brother, we've been in a world. Black and brown people have been in a world pandemic for the last 300-400 years. All right, so it ain't new to us. We've been in a world pandemic. You could call it slavery. You could call health disparities. Economics. These are not nothing new. This is mild compared to the health disparities we done climbed out of and brought ourselves out of. So I know people get impatient and people get fed up with elected officials and politics for sure. I get it, but this is a trajectory. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, sometimes you move the ball inches. Sometimes sometimes you can move it 20 yards down the ball field, but sometimes it's just inches. But if you want to move further, it takes more effort, and that's what I mean. Like the more people that put effort in, the more results you'll get out of it.
Right.
But if you leave it up to 9-10% of the people that vote to voting, then you can only move 9-10% of the time.
That's
what I mean?
Milda, respond to that, and then I want to go a little bit before we get ready. It's 10:04. I want to talk about the potential outcomes of based on what happens in November and January when they get inaugurated. We also need to talk about, Carlos, I thought you was going to do it earlier, why the city council construct, the presidency is so important based on ascension. We saw that happen with the first Black woman into the role of mayor in the city with Mayor Kim Janey. Ro, any response to what Carlos just said? And then I want to wrap up with us kind of giving our perspective of what could happen with the council based on what we see possibly happening in November.
I echo what Carlos said. Every bit of it. He's right. I couldn't have said it better myself. But I think I just saw something that someone commented on your thing. You posted it a little second ago. But when they talked about you have a particular city council at large that's who's taking pictures with Black and brown.
Oh, so the Celtics.
There you go. Yep. Surrounds itself with brown faces and children when a certain Celtics comes into the community. But you have to see, she's not. I'm going to keep it all the way 100. I don't care, but she's not connected to that. It's who's connecting her to that, right? We have to look at that as well. A lot of our people don't understand. There's someone who says that she's not racist. Racism doesn't just look like somebody walking around calling you the N-word, F Black people. That's racism, but that's not just racism. Racism looks like in policies, right? She can't walk around and say the N-word. Are you crazy? She can't do that, but she can do it in other ways. Her standing up and saying that our people, well, not our people, but people with just a high school diploma, what are our people? But people with just high school diplomas shouldn't be making $50,000 or more. That's racism because she's alluding to people from our community. She said that to a group of Black and brown people, right? And the people that was going against them were Black and brown people. We also had police officers in that room who were Black and brown police officers that come from our community that was in that room because the patrolman asked them to be in that room. So they came into the room, right? And they going against us. But in reality, out in the community, when you want to go to Dublin that night, you Dublin house, you want to talk to Ramilda. But man, I always say is stay on that side. You know what I mean? Like, I get it, the boys in blue, y'all got each other's back, whatever have you. But right is right and wrong is wrong. And when are you going to speak up to talk? Because when they're around us is, oh, I became a police officer so I can make a change. That don't look like change to me. You know what I mean? Like, our people got to do a better job at standing up for what's right. If you got into a police department, see me, I would have never made it to a police department. They would have big kicked my ass out. Because if you choke somebody in front of me, you choke somebody in front of me, period. I call it what you want.
What is it? Code, the blue code or whatever.
Bros and blue,
whatever you want to call it.
Yes, thin blue line.
Yeah. And I always say this, like, they're going to do that as long as you allow them to do it. You know what I mean? Like, they even, like, just because they have a black face in a position doesn't mean that black face represents us.
All skin?
Folk ain't kinfolk. But, you know what I mean? You can't, I don't know. We could go on and on, but that's like a whole...
I want to get y'all to give your perspective, and Carlos' perspective, and it probably will include what's at risk with city council, the presidency, the construct of the council, perspective, forecast for city council, November, all of that, please.
Who's the president now?
Ed Flynn. Ed Flynn, the district councilor for District 2, which represents South Boston and Chinatown.
Yep.
He's also sitting on, as the city councilor, he's sitting on the most money in his campaign account. He was 600 a couple months ago, so he might be a little higher than that now. He's also supported by the Forward Boston PAC, the owner of New Balance, that is also a Trump supporter that's pumping tens of thousands of dollars into.
Who else is associated with that PAC?
I think of several candidates that are running. I think, you have to look it up. I have to look it up to be sure. I don't want to misquote anybody. It's so close to election day. Mm-hmm. But there are several candidates throughout Boston and district and at-large races who are supported by a PAC who's funded by, a Trump supporter. So that might, raise some interest into people to look that up. But if we have made, and I'm not sure, I think people can judge for themselves, if we started to make progress in the city of Boston, beyond diversity, beyond having more women, I'm talking about policy-wise, budget-wise. If you've seen more investment in your community, that is what I would say is the first thing at risk, at least on the city council level. Every city councilor is not the same. They all come in, like I said, they all come in as humans, and they're flawed. Some of them want to be friends. Some of them want to be friendly. Some of them are not always loyal to the tribe, or just identify with different tribes and different policies than you might believe in. And that's your due diligence to figure that out. The big game is every 4 years that we always watch as insiders, and that's who the mayor is. In the city of Boston, the mayor rules all. That's who launches the budget. The city council is just kind of more of a checks and balances, but they still don't have control over it. So depending on who the city council president is, that's how we had Mayor Menino, not just Mayor Kim Janey, but Mayor Menino was the city council president when Flynn left. If you're not paying attention to who has the money, who's backing them, you can get a whole different group. It's only 13 people. You get a whole different group, and you only need 7 to be a majority that can shift the budget priorities, shift the laws that come into your city, anything from speed limits, schools, how your exam schools work, what neighborhoods get buildings, what neighborhoods don't get buildings. Simple things like, do you get AC in your children's building? That's a budget issue. And if you don't have counselors that are focused on it, when you have a school department that has 85% Black and Latino children, it might not be a priority for people that have most of their children in private and Catholic schools. So depending on who represents you and who that majority is, majority rules. That's democracy. The 51% control the 49%.
Yep.
But in this city, we're not even voting at a 51% level. Never have. But where I come from, I would never let 10 people control the 20 that I got. We're gonna stand up as 20 and overpower that 10. And when it comes to the city of Boston, every district has the same number of eligible voters. There are not more of one kind of people. Every vote, whatever your color, whatever your ethnicity, religion, your vote is weighed the same no matter what. So if you use it, it gives your city councilor weight to throw around. For instance, if we talk about Tuesday, Tanya finished the primary with 2,500 votes. Total. I think we're total in the race, right? In the District 7 race. A neighborhood that needs the heart of Roxbury, the heart of the city. The District 6 race in West Roxbury and JP had 11,000 votes total in the race, in the preliminary. And that's always like that. It's always been that disparity.
Yep.
So here's a scenario that everybody can play out, whether they're on the block or whether they're in the halls of power. If we're going to the mayor, whether it's Mayor Wu, Menino, Walsh, Janey, whoever the mayor is, and I say, I need $10 million for my neighborhood, who's more likely to get the attention? The ones that can go back and turn 11,000 people out, or the one that can turn 2,000 people out?
Yep.
You cripple your own community. You're not punishing the politician. You're punishing your own tribe by not going out to vote. Even if you don't like the politician, you can go and put blank, and they'll count it. You're punishing your own people. That's what's at stake. The fate of your own community, your own tribe, and your own limited resources. That's what's at stake.
Do your own homework. I don't care who told, even if I told you to vote for somebody. Do your own homework. Because what we tend to see too, a lot of these people stand out and they're like, vote for this person, vote. James froze, I think.
I was going to say, I don't know if he's holding that pose or he froze, but that's a meme right there. Let me screenshot that joint. Somebody screenshot James so we can make that a meme later on.
So whether you vote for that person or not, you have to understand, like, a lot of these people have you voting for somebody because at the end of the day, they have a benefit from it. Whether they have a job in place, somebody done, you know what I mean? Somebody done promised them a job. And if you notice, a lot of those people that are telling you vote for this or standing out with those signs on certain days, they all get in position once that mayor's in position. And then you don't even see them no more. And a lot of them are just sitting in office with their feet up. They're not bringing nothing back to the community.
Now, I agree with you, Ro, but I'm also cool with that part of the game because if they were doing it right, they would be opening doors. You know what I mean? There's two types of people that get in the door. There's some people that get in the door and they close it behind them. Right. And then there's some people that get in the door and they hold it open and be like, yo, everybody, let's go. Let me show you how to come through. So if you're holding the door open for your tribe to get in,
but that's not happening.
It doesn't happen the way it should. I know around my way. If you walk my block with me, I know there's about 30 people, high school diplomas, some with GEDs, some with college degrees, that are tucked into city government now, and now they're homeowners. Their lives have changed because, policy aside, that's some of the best ways you can look out for somebody is make sure they have gainful employment with some retirement funds, and that's the game they've been playing. When you walk through City Hall and you see the little old lady or the little old man that's a receptionist or they're pushing the broom, they've been in City Hall for 30 years. Their family's been making money off of that because they held that sign. The other tribes know how to use that game to get their people in.
Exactly.
We just don't play the game as well as they do. So I'm okay with that part of the game. We're just not using it right.
No, that's my point. Like, I'm definitely okay with it, but where's our people that's gonna hold those doors open for our folks, our community, right? Like you said, it doesn't have to be a director position or anything like that, but there's so many people who would be okay with a receptionist job, would be okay with, a job's a job, and some people need just a job, right?
Yeah. Nice benefits for their family, the whole nine.
But, some people want to do BTD. Some people want to, Parks and Rec, Public Works.
Right.
And I remember before, I was able to secure those jobs when it was Walsh, because he was always big on second chance and things like that. And that's how a lot of the dudes that ended up coming home from incarceration and getting those jobs and getting into the union, honestly, it was through Walsh. Likewise. And we need something like that back. And after he left, I don't have no pull, no say. And
as you know, the truth of the matter is, we were talking about the streets earlier. You're not going to meet any young man or woman in the streets that wouldn't prefer a 9-to-5 that pays $60,000 a year with benefits. You know what I'm saying? If we talk about reducing violence and reducing crime, nothing does it like a job. If you get to go to work every day, even if you're driving a truck or in a park and you're getting paid $60,000 at the end of that 8-hour shift, you're not hitting the block. You're going home to sit on that couch. And you're watching some TV and you're going to sleep, and you're able to pay your bills. Your stress level is down. You got health benefits. You're able to focus on your health, your wellness, your family's wellness, and that's the part we've been missing for a long time. So,
a lot of us just need someone to believe in you and invest in you. And it's not that you owe them, because one thing Marty Walsh and Dan O'Hearn always said is pay it forward. They never wanted you to owe them anything. It was always pay it forward. I always heard them say that, pay it forward. Right? Go back and get the next person and help them out. Operation Exit was a success. You see how many brothers and sisters graduated from that program and had jobs in the union and now buying houses, getting married, starting a family, left the street life alone. I was a sponsor for Operation Exit. I saw it myself. I have 100% success rate of the guys and women that I put in. And that program no longer exists. You know how many guys hit me up, yo, Ro, get me into Operation Exit? And I'm like, it doesn't even exist anymore.
Right. Shout out Brian Doherty. I mean, I used to work when I was out of politics. I used to work alongside of him with the records in 1421, and I would see a couple young men from Operation Exit, and I made it a point to pull them aside, like, yo, what do you think about going from what you were doing to having? I mean, and they were working hard, like laborers, like sweating, and whether it was 100 degrees or whether it was 30. And they were like, man, I'll take this every day, all day over what was having to look over my shoulder when I'm walking my daughter down the street, or having to worry about where the next, flip is coming from every single day. And so there were, and not everybody loves every mayor. You know what I'm saying? I had my spats with Marty back in the day, but able to set up partnerships that actually work, that benefit, because we were able to put the tribe first. And he's a guy that comes from a similar neighborhood that we come from, right? Same zip code. He's out to 02125. So he knows, he grew up with guys with high school diplomas and GEDs. He knows guys that was on the street, on the block. Like there's no stranger to it. But
He
when
was a
you
little
get
bit of that.
right, exactly.
He's honest about it, so we ain't out with
But
him.
when you get a mayor that has no connection to that,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, that has no lived experience, and have a staff that has no, and I'm not saying it's
But
about the
hold
just
on. Let me ask you this. Do you blame her or do you blame the people around her, her gatekeepers?
see here's the that's a good question. For me, I'm always worried about when city councilors. I pay attention to city councilors when they run for other offices, right? Even city councilors, because it's a management thing, like you talked about earlier. It's a leadership thing. We taking over the Java for Jimmy show. For those that don't know right now, it's Ramilda Pereira and Carlos Enriquez. We don't know what happened to James, but we're gonna hold it down until he gets back or cuts us off. But a lot of times, people come into leadership but don't have any leadership experience. So before I ever ran for office, and I only had a staff of one as a state rep, you only get one staffer. So you were supervising one person and some interns. But city councilors get to like 5 to 7. But they might not have ever had any supervisory experience in their life. So you go from, and I'm going to use Mayor Wu for an example, and this is no knock. I'm not saying it's true, but I'm just giving an example. Let's say she didn't have, and I don't know her complete resume. She runs an at-large office, has 5 or 7 staffers, right? So you supervise a staff of 5 or 7. Not too bad for your first supervisor job, whether you're working in retail, city hall, wherever. But you go from 5 to 7 to 3,000, and now you are supervising people that are experts in their field that know more about traffic engineering and building engineering than you do. It's a challenge for some people. If you're not charismatic, if you're not knowledgeable about all these different things, you don't know who to hire as your lieutenants. And like you said, you're only as good as your lieutenants as those that you put around you. Menino was great at having lieutenants that were experts and knew what they were doing, whether you liked it or not. They were strong and they were a unit. It's different. These are the things that are at
But then you
stake.
got to look at it like we had going back to Marty Walsh. It wasn't just Marty. Marty came from something. Marty wanted to get certain pieces done. Marty didn't understand certain things, right? But the people he put in position, his lieutenants. You had a Aisha. She was a beast out here. You can't even knock her. You had a damn O'Hearn. Who gonna deny that? You know what I mean? Like these people were actually like good at what they were doing. They knew what Marty wanted and they executed. I think in this, and this is just my personal opinion, I could be wrong. It's just a little bit of what I see. You know what I mean? She's an excellent person, human, very nice, right? I got to meet her, very nice person, very mellow, calm, whatever have you. But the people around her, right? It's not, the wheels ain't turning. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I think that those people are in position due to loyalty, not because they can help me execute this. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah, I
sometimes you
feel you.
got to cut off that. You could still be loyal, but you got to cut it off right here because you're not getting me what I want. And if this continues, I don't see a second.
Right. It
I
reflects
don't
on
see a second. Yeah.
you make a good point, because I mean I'm a political junkie. Like I've been paying attention. Luckily my parents raised me around it and it was at our table over spaghetti, right? But there's levels to it, and sometimes people jump levels, like like basketball or football. Like you only a few people can go from high school right into the league and do well. Some of them are a bust. Like if you I appreciate the people that take the time to learn the different levels and work their way up. Look who's back.
Oh, he's
And
back. We took over till you got back.
Yo, so this must be Jesus, because the first thing I said was that ain't nothing but the devil. We was just, no, I did not. So y'all go ahead and finish.
I just want to get. I'm hoping everybody got screenshots, because the pose that you froze on is meme worthy. So I'm hoping everybody send those out. Post them on Facebook later on today with your best meme, your best Java with Jimmy meme, and we'll get you a free mug for the winter time as it comes up. But what I was saying is, like, there's different levels, and people, when you get into a game or a competition or a struggle, you should study the people that came before you. You should study the system. You know what I mean? You don't. People like to play Uno and stack all the draw fours together, even though Uno says you can't do it. Like, you got to know the rules before you play the game. Otherwise, you can't play it correctly. And so, and that includes everybody from staffers to counselors, to people that are running for office. Learn the job before you even get in the job, so that when you get there, you don't have to prepare. You're already ready. That's just because, bro, like you said, I think that's what's affecting. And I like the fact that there's new people in there and there's young people in there, but you need a mix of experience and people that actually understand how things go and how things can affect the
But what I
person whose
tend to
name
see
on the
what
door.
happening in her office is you can't even you can't even talk to some of her people, not
Yeah.
all, some of her people, without them getting offended. And in those positions, it's not like people's coming at you disrespectfully. Sometimes you got to be able to sit down and hear the community. We're not always right, right? We're not, even me in my little position, right? Some people, yo, Ro, this time I open it up to have the conversation because I want to hear what other people have to say, right? And then when you're the voice of the people, you have to hear the people. You have to know what's going on. You have to hear what they're saying. You can't, she got a couple of people that are in there. It's like, oh, well, I'm in this position. You can't tell me what they like.
Who we talking
Girl,
about?
sit down, please.
Jimmy, stop it. Stop it,
Mind your
please.
business right now. Who's
That's
holding it
what
down?
like
You
Aaron
held it
said.
down
That's
for
for after
20
dark.
minutes. Pause.
Yeah, that's for after dark.
Oh, we haven't named the counselor? Okay, sorry.
No, we're not talking about.
Oh no, we're talking about staffers of the administration. You
Yeah,
know,
and where we think things can be where people could do a little better, right?
room for improvement.
Room for improvement. Correct. I think when you're in that position, whether you're an Aisha or whoever, when you're in that position, you should be able to sit down, talk to the community without feeling offended. Right. Also, not everything we say is going to be right or realistic, but most of the times it is. And taking that back to her, that's your job. When y'all sitting on y'all little staff meeting, hey, Mayor Wu, Madam Wu, whatever you want to call her, I think this, and that, or this community this, or they want to see this back. What we tend to see too in all politician roles, when they take over the next mayor, the next state rep, the next whatever, there's things that the ones before them had in place that was working and they don't follow through with it because, oh, that was Marty Walsh's thing. But it was working. So keep it going. Add to it. Make it better. Something. Call Marty. Hey, Marty, when you used to do Operation Exit, people seem to love it. How did you make that happen? I'm sure Marty will give you the sauce. Continue that because it works.
It's this. So early on, you all knew I was public. Carlos knew I was going through it. Early on, that was a lot of the perception in public that everything that had to do with formers and whatnot, I'm coming in on the end of the people that surround you and whatnot. We've talked about it. It's public. That also the piece about when people go into that room, bro, we also have to know, and this ain't no cap, and Carlos can agree with this, Menino, Marty, Kim, whoever, those that are coming back have to be honest. You said something earlier, Carlos, that we never delve into. I said, what is it going to take? And you said one word, truth. It's applicable here. The mayor doesn't have, I think y'all talked about supervising and all that stuff. Can't be everywhere, hear everything. This ain't no cap. Whoever's going back and sharing the perspective and making the recommendations.
The gatekeepers.
If they're not for the tribe, she's getting something that's filtered according to whatever their agenda is or whatever they think that next move is. I had to tell Marty, yo, Marty, there's people in your camp that don't care nothing about the community and their priority is them. First of all, it's not you as the mayor. We know how that runs. And they don't care about community. He was right. You know what, Jimmy, you're right. The inauguration tickets, guess who had to pull them all back and reallocate them because some of them people, I'm sorry, I'm getting too out there, but go ahead, Carlos.
But they're also not doing a justice to the person that they serve under.
Right.
If I don't come back and report the truth to you as my boss, as the mayor, then I'm not giving you a fair picture of what you're really dealing with. I'm misrepresenting your picture. That's the same thing as a friend. If I don't want to comfort my friend with comfortable lies, I might comfort them with the harsh truth, and I'll be there with you to deal with this harsh truth. But I got to give you the truth. I got to tell you, even when I work for Flaherty. That's not going to go over well in my community.
In the office.
Now, it's still your decision because your name is on the door. I'm just letting you know that's not going to go over well in my community. And my job is done. I told you it didn't go over well.
I just don't think you need a group of yes men if you're
no leader does.
Who's going to keep it real, who going to respect you but keep it real at the same time.
No leader does. No person in the community does. No friend does. No one needs a bunch of yes people.
Let me tell you.
You got the gatekeepers, like I said, in where she's a beautiful person. I don't mean no thing. I just said that earlier. I think she's an awesome person personally. But as a mayor, I think she needs to figure out what she's going to do with the gatekeeping. Because the gatekeepers are not going to help her win the next election. And I think she has potential to be great. She is great. But those around her are making her look bad.
But bro, like I was saying, it's a dirty game. And it's tough to be any human being to be surrounded. I mean, you almost got to run it like Bumpy Johnson in American Gangster. Like you got to have filters because
mentioned earlier about the game.
Because there are so many people pulling on you, right? You are 30-something-year-old human being. You wear many hats. You're a father, you're a mother, you're a grandfather, you're an uncle, whatever you are. You're a person, and you walk in, and now there are geniuses, smart people pulling on you. We need money for this. We need money for that. You better do this. You better serve us over here. You better serve us. You're never going to make everybody happy. It's a difficult job to figure out who you can trust to advise you, who's going to tell you the right thing. It's trial by fire. It really is trial by fire. And
it's okay to fire people or let people go, put them in different positions if they're not.
Yeah,
producing. But if you're not producing, you got to go.
It's a challenge. It's because, again, like we said, how much experience do you have with firing people?
But
are you comfortable firing somebody?
As a person like her, though, from what I see, I could be wrong, is loyalty. I'm going to keep this person because this person been with me since day one. But if that person's not serving your purpose, then that, even let's say, like you said, Carlos, friendship. You're my friend. I'm growing, but you're still pulling me back.
Yeah,
I let you go.
But you cut from a different cloth, and you and I have grown into that position, right? We older than the mayor. We've been through different things that the mayor hasn't gone through. Yeah. It took us some time to get there.
Maybe she wasn't ready for this position?
I'm saying a lot of people, whether it's the mayor or elected officials, have not grown into the type of emotional maturity that you're describing right now, of letting people go when you elevate because your growth, not because you feel bougie, but because a different cloth. Where not everybody can go with us. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's an important thing that people understand. Like, elected officials are still humans. They're flawed. We're not all developed the same way. We don't have the same emotional maturity. We don't have the same self-esteem. That's why some of us are just happy to be liked, happy to be in pictures. Some of us might have been corny in high school, and now we get to sit up front. And you know, those things all play on elected officials, whether they admit it or not.
We haven't even talked about, and maybe I can get a couple of them to come on. We haven't even talked, and this is a space we talk about mental health. Carlos, you talk about it. Ramilda, you talk about it, and moving in as well. And it's no cap for anyone, but there is a mental health impact as well. I don't know what I missed. I just want to apologize to the two.
You can go back and watch the show as everybody else should. They should go back and rewind.
It turned into Row and Los, but go ahead.
Not Row and Los. Newt said, not even Row and Los. Y'all done became the new Benifer. They said, I'm here.
Rolos. Oh, man.
Oh, you should have seen me. Everything went black. I thought we lost y'all. That doesn't happen when StreamYard shuts down. So obviously there was some intervention for y'all to be able to still stay up like that. Carlos, you know StreamYard. That wasn't supposed to happen. We just dropped out. But no.
We're talking about bringing back to money and budgeting and things like that, right? Like, that's why for me, and I know we keep saying this, but it's for me, that's why it's important for us to keep like Tanya Fernandez Anderson on. It's important for us to back her because she's trying to bring that budget, bring that money to D7. Like Lo said, that's the heart of Roxbury.
Across the board, because her being Ways and Means, she's got the responsibility for the whole budget, and it's fair to say.
So now if you take her out and put somebody that's gonna go against that, we've lost as a community. We've lost. So it's important to have someone like her on. And again, pay attention to who's telling you to vote for, you know, who's endorsing Althea or telling you to vote for an Althea versus a Tanya. No shade to Althea, but she's not gonna fight for those things for us. And those things are important for us. Roxbury does need more green spaces. Roxbury does need more budgeting. You know what I mean? The streets need to be fixed. They need to beautify and bring it back up and things like that, right? And she's gonna fight for that. She has been fighting for that. Not that she's going to. She has been doing that since day one. And now you have people that are against her, not because she's a bad person, not because she's not doing what she said she was going to do, not because she's not taking care of Roxbury. These are the people who never even been into certain areas or haven't been to Roxbury, period, who are telling you not to vote for somebody that came from your community, still rooted in your community, right? Someone who's come from a background where she understands her people, right? And we're talking about budgeting. You need to put people in office that's gonna bring that money back, right? Just like we kept saying throughout the segment, we talked about the hood. You gonna send somebody that's gonna spend the money, or you gonna send somebody that go get the money? We always talking about bringing the bag. Think of that, right? And who's gonna bring it to us? It's the person who's been doing it. She's not doing anything wrong, so why would we put her out? And again, like I said, James, go backwards. We need someone who's gonna do it. Unless we get somebody better, greater, whatever have you. That's what it is. But you also need somebody. We not only put her in position, we need to back her. So when she is in chambers, when she is asking for that money to be allocated back to our community, that you see the mayor do see what's behind her, because the mayor is going to go by what the community.
Right.
She should go by what the community is saying. And if a large amount of people are behind this, she has no choice. She can't go against Tanya, right? Because
Right.
it's not just Tanya, it's the community. Tanya is just the voice of the community.
There's so much. Go ahead, Carlos. Go ahead.
If the mayor's race, any mayor usually wins about 60,000 votes citywide. At large councilors usually around the same at 50,000 votes. District councilors, all their power comes from their district. So if we gave District 7, for instance, if that councilor has 15,000 votes in the
Facts.
bank,
Yep.
then the mayor and the 4 at-large councilors have to run every decision by that district councilor
Yep.
to make sure that district councilor is an ally. Because you don't want, if you have a truth teller in a city councilor, which I think some districts do, you don't want that city councilor going back to say this 15,000 is going a different way. And whether they're Menino, Walsh, Wu, they know this. They've always known this. If you study the game, and they've all studied the game, we all know that you cannot win mayor without winning District 7 and District 4. The two
Yep.
blackest and brownest communities.
Yep.
Now you can divide it up into African American, Cape Verdean, Latino, Caribbean, but you can't win it without winning large chunks of Ward 12, 14, 17, 18, and 15. You know what I mean? So if people pay attention and realize I live in one of those wards, yeah, you got a lot of power. You actually decide who the 4 at-larges are, at least 3 of them, and the mayor every year. So if you don't have someone on Ways and Means, I'll give you another scenario. The president of the city council is up next year. Ed Flynn, it was no longer going to be the city council president. So they have to elect a new one in January. Now, depending on what the majority of the council looks like, will decide what committees they sit on and who's the president. Now, that person might be in line with Mayor Wu. They might be a challenge to Mayor Wu. Mayor Wu might find a job and not run for re-election. You know, I know she just announced this morning, I think she's running for re-election. But things change quickly in politics. So this person might ascend to a more powerful position. All these things are constantly at play. And this is something that we should watch just as closely as we watch television, just as closely as we watch social media. This is the game that affects tens of thousands of lives in our community every single day.
But Carlos, how do we get those people that are not watching Java right now, right? Or that don't watch Java to get this information, or wherever other
That's a good question.
How do not only we, but the elected officials or those who run in, get those people engaged?
We got to do what you do. And it's the law of multiplicity. If I tell 10 people and tell those 10 people to tell 10 people, then that 10 grew into 100. And then those 100 tell 10 people, and now that's 1,000 people. And only 10 people had to do some work for 1,000 people to find out some information. Like, it don't take a lot. We just have to talk. We talk about all kinds of things. Someone has to do the research at a leadership level like you do, and take that policy into our barbershops, our blocks where we congregate, and change the conversation. And it's uncomfortable. I came from a block where when I first started, nobody wanted to talk politics. You think the dude in the middle of a blunt, I'm bringing up policy and, I need you to hold a sign for me. They're like, yo, we going to the cookout. But after a couple of years of wearing them down from that race to that race, then they're like, yo, dudes would drive by me and dude would pull up and be like, yo, you know what? I got an idea. I think you should pass a law that makes it illegal to smoke cigarettes in cars with children. This is a dude that got thug life tatted across his chest. But he's riding by my house and stopping me to talk about policy. It happens. If we lead, like you say, it only takes one leader in every group. And we all have a constituency. You don't have to have a title behind your name. We all have a group. Those of us that are charismatic, that have leadership qualities about us, there are people that listen to us. We've been deciding what party we were going to go to. We've been deciding what movie we're going to go to. We've been deciding what bottle of liquor we're going to buy on Friday night. We've been deciding all these things all of our lives and leading people all of our lives. just change the focus and pass that information out. So, Ro, you're absolutely right. That has to happen, and all of us have to see it. It's our job to do so.
And also the elected officials have to listen to the community so they could listen to the brother with the tattoo, with the Thug Life tattoo across the HS, right?
Or
They
fire
also,
their ass.
right?
Yeah, or
You
fire
need
them.
the
Yeah.
people, those that are coming home from incarceration. If you're talking about prison reform, who best to go to? Those that did the time that was sitting behind it, right? Who's best to talk to when you have different. That's the problem. A lot of the times we just go into it like you have to speak for the community. You in the community is the inner city, the people, the action people that's at Washington Park, right, watching a basketball game. Believe it or not, if you talk about something that they can relate to, they will be for it. If you can tell somebody that has a brother, two, some of us got two, doing time, and they know like my brother's stuck in jail for the rest of his life over a joint venture. They got a bill now to end joint venture, right? And I got a brother sitting in, someone got a brother sitting in jail for the rest of their life on a joint venture. And that bill passed, I could bring that brother home. That person is going to now go get 10, 20 people to show up to the White House to vote for you because I need you to stay in because you're trying to pass this bill. You know what I mean? Those are the things and conversations. When I was campaigning for Liz Miranda and we would knock on doors, there was a brother who, when he opened the door, he was like, oh, my brother already, and his brother was incarcerated. He said, my brother already told us to vote for her. We're with her. These are people that never voted, but because his brother is incarcerated and Liz is passing bills that supports him and that helps him and could help bring him home, now he got his family involved and got his family voting, right? So those things do work, but we have to get it not to our people, but the elected officials, those that are in office, right? Those that are running. Don't just talk about it when you're running. Do it when you're in office, right? Continue to go back and talk to the community and find out what it is that we want and need.
And if they don't, fire them. You get a chance to fire them every 2 years.
Yep.
There's not a lack of, and I don't want people to feel like there's a lack of leadership in our community. There are brilliant leaders on every corner in our community. Don't let us fall for there's only a few of us in the talented 10th and the rest of us are just, nah. You fire one that's not doing the job and you support one that is willing to do the job and has a track record of doing the job. And you do it until you get it right. And when you get it right, you stand with them. It is not personal. It's business. And it's the business of the people. It's the business of the tribe. Stop making it a one-on-one. Like you said, it's not about the name and the title. It's about what they're doing for the community. So if there's no fear of firing them, then they're not going to do anything. They're not going to. Where's the incentive to perform if they can get by with the bare minimum?
We got homeboy, the sheriff. Ain't nobody seen that man since he was campaigning. Nobody has seen him, right? A couple of years ago, for real, we're about to put an AP beat out on the man. But what was it? A year, 2 years ago, we had 4 or 5 people who passed away in his custody.
Someone just the other day.
Yep, and I was about to say that. And last Friday, another man, he's like 45 years old, he passed away. This is somebody who's putting in pink slips to be seen in medical, and they haven't seen him. Then they rush him to the hospital. He's gone. A couple of years ago, when the 5 people passed away, as you know, I led the protest in front of South Bay because we wanted answers for but for the family who wasn't getting any answers. Yep. Rashad Wilson's family didn't know what the hell happened to their loved one, right? And then when they called, the sheriff's like not responded, not everything. So for us, it's like you owe these families something. You know what he brought up to me? HIPAA. I'm like, this ain't no HIPAA law. I know personally, from my personal experience, when you get locked up, when you go to South Bay, when you go to Nashville Street, when they do your booking, they ask you for emergency contact. So what are you asking for emergency contact for? Obviously, when something bad happens to me, you call that person, right? I mean, that's what I thought would happen, and that every time you go back, because, hey, I went back a couple of times. So every time you go back, they ask you to update that, right? So what are you updating it for?
If you're not going to contact when Rashad passed.
Aisha, Rashad, say their names. There's a whole group. It was 5 people. Within a matter of 3 months, 5 people passed away. You know what I mean? Then now, like he said, on Friday, and before then, there's probably other people who passed away, right? That we haven't heard of or know. Again, nobody even know where the sheriff's at. The COs haven't even seen him. The correction officers, they haven't even seen him. No one's seen him. No one knows where he's at. So did you just abandon your job? No one's asking this question. This is an elected official. This is someone that y'all voted for and put into office. This is also a black man. So when we go back and say people that are not for us, here we go. And having a position like that, you got to remember you have thousands of people in your care on a day-to-day basis. We can go back to, what was his name before Andrea Cabral, Sheriff Rouse, whatever his name is, Richard Rouse. And he's the sheriff that was in play that many of us was in that, in South Bay or Nashville Street when COs was having sex with women prisoners. A couple of them got pregnant. I was in there when it happened. You know what I mean? You had officers who were dealing drugs. And this is all public records. This is stuff that happened because the feds had to come in and the feds raided the jail. Tell me where you see that at, right? And so many officers got arrested, so many lawsuits. This is public record. Look it up on Google, right? And it'll come up. The Boston Globe did stories on it. There's so much. Why? Because the sheriff was never there. He was never present. So the COs ran amok and did what they wanted to do.
So
but then when you do that, you have people like, I was 18, 19 years old, that I was witnessing things that I never even saw at home, honestly, right? And these are things that continue to happen. But again, these are y'all elected officials. We voted them then. It's time to vote them out.
Similar to before, Ro, when you brought this up, I think Steve wound up coming on, and I don't know if y'all didn't come on together, but we might have to check back in with our brother Thompson.
Oh, I tuned in for that one.
Well, shut up. We got to get ready to wrap up. UCB community members, y'all get 2 hours today for your points for watching Java with Jimmy. But Ro and Carlos, this is a labor of love. I don't have the budget to pay y'all as commentators. And this is a labor of love that is informed by life experience and also wanting to see our people more informed, mobilized, and engaged to improve the quality of life for everybody. And also, I appreciate you for those 5 minutes that held it down. When
it was like 10 or 15.
Right.
I don't know.
It wasn't that long.
Yes, it was. He was out of here.
No, I was in the kitchen. I was trying to get the phone hooked up to the computer. The Wi-Fi hotspot had died. I was like, y'all,
people held you down. They kept saying you was coming back, so we held it down on this.
I appreciate it. Lauren Davey was in and other ones, but I also seen comments about this is now the Rolo show. Yep. Rolo show. Java who? But no, I really appreciate both. I need to see that picture, Carlos. I appreciate both of you, and we need to now through November and even on not just November, we need to figure out. I'll talk to Anissa, Anthony, and them how we do something like this on a more ongoing. I did get a text from the team. They was like, Jimmy, this needs to spill over into After Dark. And so we need to continue this because always after, Carlos, you know, when you've been on before, and Row 2 people have reached out to you. When you all come on, folks are like, yo, thank you. I didn't know. They're all up in here. On a lighter note, Carlos, the steamer is working. You're
Oh, I thank you. Thank you. I have been. Yeah. And I know there's a lot of mothers, you know.
My mother's in here. They held
so I made sure I put my shea butter on because I don't want nobody. You know how mothers of color they lick their fingers and put it right on you. So I don't know anybody on their screen talking about you crusty this morning. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I'm glad we're ending in some level of black joy because a lot of this was heavy. The three of us are not going to hit end and then just go about and drink Java. And all that we talked about is not going to be in our head and thinking about ways and whatnot. So, and Mama Java is saying that y'all really held me down. And I know they both have. Carlos a little bit longer, and a lot of the political astuteness that I think I have today. He is in it weekly. So I'm honored.
Keep. Let's go. Let's keep. Right. Don't. Oh, here you go. Hi,
sister. And I'll just leave that right there.
There you go.
That is a good note to get ready to end on. I appreciate both of y'all. I will be in touch. Carlos, I know you're not going to be up here this weekend. For those that are watching, nothing is canceled tomorrow. They say the rain is going to end at like 6:30. And so, yeah, we're still celebrating turning up for Java with Jimmy tomorrow from 3 to 6 p.m.
Everybody show up to the polls in November.
Everybody show up to the poll, but we're going to have more time to encourage folks to do that. Definitely. We got work to do.
And this ain't no shade to nobody, because honestly, Jimmy, what happens, we get a lot of love after. James, I don't know why I called you Jimmy. We get a lot of love after, but then it's like there are those certain people that want to continue that conversation, right? And they're like, oh, well, when you said this, and it's like a debate when I'm at Stop and Shop trying to buy food for my kids, like, I don't want to debate you about nothing I said on no Java with Jimmy, you know what I mean, or whatever. And it's not no
you on the street, bro.
Yeah, it's but
they lucky they
bro,
lucky road changed.
bro, I want you to know that it's a compliment though, because people are so hungry for leadership that they don't want to miss an opportunity.
No, that's okay. But I'm talking about when they want to debate. Well, you said this within the budget, and we need like meet me tomorrow. Like I'm shopping, trying to get some cereal and stuff.
That's why I used to go on
I'm
Tuesday,
already mad.
Tuesday evenings.
I'm already milk is $6. Like the hell you want to talk to me about?
The milk is too damn high.
Like I'm mad. I'm picking up eggs. About to listen. You want to talk to me about this?
I gotta go grocery shopping today.
All right,
damn.
Y'all go grocery shopping, and it was so good to have our special guest in the room this morning today. So Carlos, I love you. And yes, we'll Carlos, keep glowing.
I got you.
Ramilda, keep flowing. Carlos, you better not put that meme out. I don't know who y'all better.
I don't have the picture, so I'm just hoping somebody
screenshot it.
I should have got my phone out and got it.
What did it look like?
So please just post it on our page.
Carlos
send
is
it to
a
me.
daily reminder that nobody like he don't let nobody nothing bother him. It just be like he be like this.
It used to. That's a whole other mental health thing. It's a journey.
And I almost got a little emotional because Carlos and I close, and Lauren, you remember Lauren, Carlos, from neighborhood
she took the pic
today.
Please send it to me.
Lauren, send it to me first. Lauren, send it to me.
Nah, send it to us group.
But no, for you to say that, I know some of Carlos's journey, like he knows mine, you know some of mine, and I know yours. And to see that evolution of what some of them people put him through and whatnot, it really, when you said that, it really stands out to me. So Carlos, we want to affirm and celebrate you, man, for all that you accomplished and endured and got, and I don't make light, but went through the healing process of a lot of stuff. And so it does exude out of you. I get, Rose sees this and y'all probably talk, but I get to hear the phone calls and really hear how much. So I appreciate you, bro.
And I want to give the flowers back to you both, but especially you, Ro. Like we haven't kicked it personally, but I know of you, and I know the people that I know that I respect you, and I see the same. Like, it keeps me plugged in. Like when I want to tap out and be like, I ain't gonna be concerned in that, and then I hear the truth in your voice and how it resonates. I'm like, I'm on with Ro. I'm on with Ro. Like,
thank you.
Yeah.
So. I appreciate you. Thank you, definitely. And I'm definitely growing. I've grown a lot.
I know. But you show it and you're honest about it. And that honesty that you show with people in the stages of your growth is what allows other people to attach to it and believe that they can do it too. It's an example. And that's why I try to be transparent about it, because I remember my man Ema around the way was like, yo, you got to get back up because we all watching you. And he's like, he was 18 at the time. And they was like, if they can come for you and knock you down, what they going to do to us?
Right. Yeah.
And that was at the beginning of that was like 2015, 2016. And I'm still on that journey, 8 years later. So it's a journey, but it's a beautiful struggle. There's beauty in the struggle. So
it's dope. And it's dope to come from that experience and then come out on top. And then I think that shows like real leadership, and you can really, that's when you can really speak for those people, because now you have a better sense of things and you change, you've grown, evolved. So, and one quick thing before I go, like with Lauren, when I was talking about people who come up to you and think, one thing I love about Lauren and what made me actually continue having conversations with her, she's one of them people that always are like, what can I do what can I do better? You know what I mean? She's one of them people who acknowledges, like, I did grow up in Dorchester. I grew up in this side, but what can I do better? Or and I love that. Like, I love when people are like honest and they're coming up to you and they're like, what can I do better? Especially in her position and things like that. And I think that those sparks uncomfortable conversations, but it's conversations. And the fact that she's comfortable with being uncomfortable, I love that. Right. And that's how people change, and people can make change and can bring back change within their community. So shout out to her, because I keep she's commenting, but she's one of those very few people, but she's one of those people.
Lauren, don't send Carlos that pic first.
That's beautiful.
All right. 2 hours for UCB. Los and Roll, thank you. for being part of the Rolos Freestyle Fridays on this Friday. We'll have to figure it out. I'm gonna have to figure out how to get Darren up here and a couple of other folks, Kristen, and what we'll switch it up a little bit. But election night, there will be a show. I don't know how we're gonna do it, but we'll figure out November election night show one way or another.
Boston, we gotta get it right. Keep it right.
We gotta get it right. Rolos. Y'all got Mama Jiva said, Mom, put a capital L on the Los and you'll be good. All right.
Isn't that a candy or chocolate? Rolos?
Yeah. Rolos, not Rolos. Rolos, you got to emphasize the Los. The Rolos show. Oh,
got crazy with it.
The Rolos show. We might have to look at that in person when you get up here. Los.
We need a check. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh wow.
Say that.
Now to what you call it, just thank everyone for tuning in today. We really
I
was like, damn.
Don't let this protest in front of your little studio.
No, I appreciate both of y'all.
Shout out to the Davis group too.
Alicia said,
oh yeah.
Shout out to the Davis.
I love me some Erin. She's such a.
Well, she's been in here encouraging you to run. She was like, "We need Ro to run. We need Ro to run."
No, I love me some Erin. I met her when Liz was running, and she was younger, a lot younger than she is now. But to see a young sister like that, and like she has a lot of little power. And,
a lot of little power.
Yeah.
You know, I mean little because she's little, you know what I mean? But nah, she's big. She got this. That's big Erin, not the little one. But she definitely like, yo, she's such an inspiration. No bullshit. Like,
we got to wrap up because we done held Carlos down for 2 hours and I don't want him to get in trouble. So
I got to send the invoice at the 2 hour mark. The first 2 hours is pro bono. You got 7 more minutes. You got 7 more minutes before it kicks in.
We're getting off here. Thank you all for tuning in today. I'll let both of y'all go. I'm going to go make a couple of announcements. But thank both of y'all, and I'll follow up text and call because I know, Carlos, you're going to debrief with me after. And
love y'all. Love Mama Java. Keep praying for us.
Yep, absolutely. Thank y'all. I appreciate both.
Peace, Ro. Keep doing what you do.
Yes,
thank you. You as well. Appreciate you.
All right, y'all. Listen, folks, that was one of the most comprehensive... one of the Boston Poly, we didn't go too much into Mass Poly shows we've had in a while. I don't think I've done a 2 hour show no, I forgot who I was on with. We did one. J1, we don't do no candidate advertisement up on here. But thank you all for tuning in. Yes, Tashad, we are working on it. I also need to reach out to you about a couple of ideas I had. But I'm so glad that they came in. I really appreciate them holding it down when I got knocked off. As far as tomorrow, right now, according to what we see in the weather, the 3 to 6 time is not impacted for the birthday celebration. So we're still going to be there. I would encourage you, if you notice anything major changing in the weather, check your emails. I'm sure the team is going to send out a reminder or something. But right now, everything is on for tomorrow. All right. We have great guests lined up for you next week, October. We're already working on Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It's Indigenous Peoples Day is month that well. And so we're going to talk about a lot of things in October. So thank you all for being what Anthony said. Big E, not the little one. Thank all of you for tuning in. It is Friday, so I'm off of here. And bless the team. All I got. Rachel can say that from true experience. I just want to name, and Rachel knows this, but Rachel and Tay, I talk a lot about the team with the Davis system, but I really want to name and appreciate Rachel and Tay that held me down and kept me afloat while this evolution was going on. And they're always a part of the team. And so I just want to name and thank both of them. And when the millions come in, we'll might be working with the Davis system, but Keys, I really appreciate you for everything, and Tay as well. I'm not going to do it, Keys. All right, I'm getting off of here. I'm rambling. Y'all have a wonderful day. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you on Monday morning, bright and early at 9 a.m. Well, we'll see some of you tomorrow. All right, but for the show, we'll see you Monday at 9 a.m. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you, love you, and appreciate you.